Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Believe in best.
Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up in our news tonight. Police investigate as a man is shot and killed at Gibbs Corner. Police issuing a warning about the upcoming Easter holiday weekend and COVID protocols. A local group advocates for more women in leadership. And a look into the music industry with Judah Forbes. Welcome to our News Weekend, and thanks for joining us. I'm Georgie O'Bain. Topping news tonight. The Ministry of Health is now aggressively working to boost the confidence of healthcare workers who, for the most part, are still a bit apprehensive about the COVID-19 vaccine. Our Bethany McDermott has that.
Amid apprehension by some healthcare workers about receiving the COVID-19 vaccine, Chief Medical Officer Dr. Pearl McMillan says steps are being taken to address this serious concern. Last week, Princess Margaret Hospital Medical Chief of Staff Dr. Carolyn Burnett-Garraway said a study revealed that only 40% of healthcare workers were prepared to be vaccinated.
The concern is we will have to continue to work to, decrease that 60%. We want to have our healthcare providers immunized.
In an effort to decrease hesitancy amongst healthcare workers, Dr. McMillan said the Ministry of Health is holding forums where healthcare workers are allowed to ask questions. She said the ministry is providing as much information as possible in order to increase their confidence.
And we make ourselves available to provide that additional, guidance and information. We had a number of sessions with definitely the PMH grouping. We've had a session, Doctors Hospital had their sessions. We're having sessions with the DPH ministry grouping.
The COVID-19 vaccine rollout began last week with healthcare workers and uniformed branch workers in the first phase. On Friday, it was extended to persons 65 and over. The CMO reiterated that the vaccine isn't mandatory and touted the benefits of healthcare workers being inoculated.
Because the benefit to themselves as well as the patients that they serve and the institutions, because decreasing the likelihood of a case actually occurring in the institutions or being infected in institutions if a patient is there is always a positive benefit of healthcare providers being immunized.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Bethany McDermott.
Well, as countries like the Bahamas continue to wait for our batch of the vaccines through the World Health Organization's COVAX facility, the threat of variants continues to grow. World Health Organization Director General Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus says while richer countries are moving to vaccinate their entire population, other countries have nothing, leading to the vaccine inequality and further disruption to trade, travel, and economic recovery.
The more transmission, the more variants. And the more variants that emerge, the more likely it is that they will evade vaccines. And as long as the virus continues to circulate everywhere, anywhere, people will continue to die.
This comes as a trial conducted in Chile, Peru, and the United States revealed that the AstraZeneca vaccine is 79% effective in preventing symptomatic COVID-19 and 100% effective in preventing hospitalization and death. Further evidence, according to the WHO, that the vaccine is safe and effective. Well, shortly after 7 this morning, police were called to Gibbs Corner, where the body of a male was found with gunshot wounds about the body. The victim is believed to be in his late 40s. ASP Audley Peters telling members of the media this morning that the victim was home alone when a lone gunman approached him and shot him. Peters says officers are following significant leads and believes that the matter will be brought to a close shortly. Well, Superintendent Teresita Pinder warning businesses on Grand Bahama promoting parties for the upcoming Easter holiday weekend that COVID-19 restrictions remain in effect and such events will not be tolerated.
It has been brought to the attention of officers of the Royal Bahamas Police Force that several businesses on Grand Bahama and the Grand Key are promoting major events scheduled to occur during the Easter holiday weekend. These events include a Wet and Wild Beach Party Bash, Big Daddy Memorial Fishing Tournament, and a No Rona Block Party.
Pinder says business owners and individuals will be dealt with to the fullest extent of the law.
Be advised that permission was not granted by the competent authority, that is, the Prime Minister's office or the Commissioner of Police, to host any major social events during the mentioned time period. We will also like to take this opportunity to forewarn business proprietors that during this time, members of the Royal Bahamas Police Force will conduct rigorous patrols to monitor all businesses, establishments, and public beaches.
Well, as more political organizations get into campaign season, there are some who have been out in larger numbers than others. Police Commissioner Paul Rule was asked about that yesterday and whether police are monitoring campaigning activity to ensure that parties adhere to COVID-19 restrictions.
I don't have no concern. People are free to move about and do what they want. Persons are abiding. You notice out here, I mean, people are walking around, Kyle. You don't want to start, telling people when they can move, where they can't. The emergency orders have done enough of that to restrict within reason.
A new 25-foot contender patrol craft vessel commissioned Friday, a step officials are hoping is the first step to replenishing a fleet that was significantly damaged during Hurricane Dorian. The government took another step in protecting the country's marine resources on Friday with the commissioning of a new marine patrol vessel in Grand Bahama. According to Minister of Agriculture and Marine Resources, some $704,000 has been spent in 4 years to increase the marine complement.
Today, we are continuing what has been a tradition, really, in this department under successive administrations to increase the complement of vessels. And while the amount of funds allocated thus far is significant, we believe a lot more is required. We've spent somewhere in the vicinity of $704,000 since 2018 to add 4 additional marine patrol vessels.
The industry received several setbacks when several vessels and vehicles were damaged during Hurricane Dorian. Pintard assures the vessels are properly equipped.
I'm pleased that the Director of Marine Resources and his talented team have worked closely with the manufacturers and distributors of these vessels to make sure that they were properly equipped with GPS and VHF radios, strobe lights, sirens, and of course, twin 4-stroke environmentally friendly Yamaha engines. And so we are excited about this opportunity to patrol and protect our environment.
Given the layout of the country, Pintard says a strategic plan is needed to protect the country's resources.
That if the Bahamas is going to succeed in utilizing its marine resources, it's absolutely important that we develop a strategic plan. Jerry Kelly and the Policy and Planning Division is working closely with Carlos Pugh to develop a strategic plan for the overall ministry and the Ministry of Agriculture and Marine Resources, but also for the entire sector. One component or one subsector of this is the blue economy. And that is all things that are marine related, terrestrial as well as nearshore and ocean.
In other news, Minister of Financial Services, Trade and Industry and Immigration, Ellsworth Johnson, says Cabinet is currently looking at the issue of a non-compete clause in the tourism sector. Johnson says he is increasingly concerned about the insertion of a so-called non-compete clause in employment contracts for hotel and tourism management executives. He adds that he has taken the issue to Cabinet colleagues and labor officials, given that it appears to be and to represent an undue restraint on the trade in a small economy such as the Bahamas.
Except they're taking your secret recipe for how you're doing something and sharing it. What's the sense of a non-compete clause?
He also questioned how the hotel industry in the Bahamas has a non-compete clause for senior executives, given that the relatively small size of an economy where the tourism is the #1 industry.
The other thing that I note that is of serious concern, I spoke with the Minister of Labor. The Director of Labor is a strange thing in a contract of a non-compete clause. How do you have a non-compete clause in the hotel industry where a very small jurisdiction, think about it, very small jurisdiction, which represents more than 50, almost 50% of your gross domestic product, and is responsible for employing about 50% of the persons in the Bahamas. In the context of COVID-19, where persons are being furloughed for almost a year, an opportunity comes up and you said you can't take that opportunity because you have a non-compete clause. Well, I've asked those individuals to take legal counsel. I can't give them legal advice, but I said it made absolutely no sense.
Well, still to come on our news, how women are rising through the ranks of the police force, how a Bahamian musician is creating a league of his own, and how the youth organization is creating inner greatness. That's coming up when our news returns.
Are you okay?
No. Yeah, I got. That's supposed to happen.
Listen. Where's your heart? Where is your compassion? Do you have a soul?
Hey, Jimbo, clear my schedule for the rest of the day, eh?
Where do you go, boy? Here, bro.
And what are the chances we can actually operate on the patient? Come on, man. Surgery will begin in 2300 hours, okay?
So, we two are rappers, right? These rappers, man.
Silly girls, pretty girls, ghetto girls, pretty girls, kind girls, funny girls, yeah, we got all kind of girls.
On the track, T on the mic. First I was in the Honda, now on the bike. I tell her hop on back, she holding on my back. I threw the wide back, straight back, 12 o'clock. Too much girls to choose from, like any mini mic.
You're watching our news. Welcome back. The Royal Bahamas Police Force is dominated by male officers, but several women are making strides to break the glass ceiling. In this week's edition of Women in Leadership, our Gillian Gray speaks with the women closest to the top.
It's a challenging target, but one Deputy Commissioner Ismella Davis Delancey says is attainable. A woman in the police force's top post.
I look forward to not in my time, but sometime in the very distant future, for us to have a female commissioner.
As the first female deputy commissioner in the police force's history, Davis Delancey is an advocate for more women to join the force. She says if they want to excel, they'll have to trust the journey, even when it isn't easy.
Once Carolyn Bull retired, then I became the assistant commissioner in 2017. And so you've had 3 women who have done. Women have been in policing since 1964. And so you talk about some 50 plus years. In 50 plus years, we've had 3 women to excel to that rank. And then in 2020, we had our first female deputy commissioner. And so I believe that it is an achievable task to anybody. But it's not achievable if you don't work towards it.
Setting up the police force's credit union, working in the accounts department, and spending time at multiple police stations over the years was all part of the journey that landed her in the deputy chair. Davis Delancey says she's made it her business to engage with female officers through the Police Women Association and the International Association of Police, often holding luncheons and community giveaways as a service tool. Her advice for women who want to succeed: be a person of excellence.
Choose to challenge our females in and around policing. Those who are in school, who aspire to whatever it is that they determine they want to be, whether it's a police officer, whether it's a doctor, whatever. I knew that if I was a mechanic, I would have been the best mechanic. I knew that for sure. Because whatever you put your head to, whatever you plan, work at it. It's achievable. You can do the best that you can. All you need is to be focused. You have to remember that you have to put God first, and you have to be respectful.
It's not always been an easy road, but Davis Delancey says she's taken great pride in working with her male counterparts in some tough roles. Despite the police force being around for 181 years, women have only been allowed to join within the last 50 years. And according to Davis Delancey, this is the first time she's ever seen women strategically placed in positions of authority.
You have a commander who's in charge of CID in the person of Shanta, okay? You have a commander in Grand Bahama, Kimberly Taylor, who's in charge of CID. You have Sherry Amley, who heads a station in Grand Bahama. You have Teresita Pinder. You have Anne-Marie Neely in Pay Office. You have Stephanie Hamilton in Tribunal, right? And so women are posted strategically, you know, for the very first time, for the very, very, very first time.
So you think this is kind of like an advancement?
It's an advancement. It's an advancement.
Her wish is to see women not only in policing, but in every sector thrive, as she says women have a unique set of skills to offer. Reporting for Our News Weekend, I'm Jillian Gray.
It's sad that more women are not in Parliament, according to Caribbean Women in Leadership Chair Charlene Paul. Paul chalks the reason up to women not wanting to be a part of the vindictiveness often involved in politics. She's encouraging more women to step up to the forefront this season, as she says it's time for women's issues to be addressed.
The United Nations has put forward a position that more than 150, 200 countries, including the Bahamas, has signed on and ratified its position about increasing female representation. So they speak to a minimum of 30%. And that's because you need a critical mass. One or two women raising their voices is not sufficient. We need a critical mass of representation to ensure that the issues get properly addressed.
Paul says if women come forward in significant numbers, maybe the political landscape will change. That includes an increase of women in positions of leadership, and that will hopefully bring forth social and economic reform. Paul says they're not trying to replace men, but simply find the best balance of leadership for the country.
When a woman puts herself forward, she has already overcome many barriers to even come to the fore. We have to support her. We have to support knowing that if we don't have the balance, we're going to continue this vicious cycle of social denigration, deterioration. We have to fix our social challenges, and we can only do it working together.
Well, when Our News comes back from the break, musician Judah Forbes takes us behind the music, and Anew helps millennials find their passions. We have the details when Our News comes back.
No more waiting in queue for assistance with your modem. Be your own agent and reset your modem with just a few clicks of a button. Follow these simple steps. Step 1, dial 601-2200. Step 2, select option 3. Step 3, select option 2. Step 4, enter your 8-digit account number. Step 5, follow the prompts. It's that simple. Web, you and us together.
There are Bahamians doing extraordinary things all over the world and here at home. In this first edition of our new series, League of Their Own, Arkal Joaquin speaks with a producer who decided to try something new, all with the hopes of inspiring others to do the same.
After spending years behind the camera, producing news, events, and special programming, 28-year-old Judah Forbes, now known as Ju, is trying his hand at something new, music. And it all came from hanging in the studio with his friend Najee Dunn.
And he was like, yeah, just put on the headphones, the mic right there. I was like, all right, let's try something. And I did this thing called, he told me about doing a melody, so he said just mumble some stuff, whatever comes to mind. We download a beat off of YouTube. And in the mid, when I started to do that, he paused the beat and looked at me. He's like, we have to do a track.
Next thing he knew, they created magic. And now Ju is creating sound after sound for his debut project, I'm Not a Rapper.
Hey, I'm not a rapper. So what you're going to hear is trial. You're going to hear trial and error. So I can't really speak too much about the project, but you're going to hear some, even with the documentary that we'll be doing, you're going to see where I mess up. You're going to see what I have to go through, what the practicing it took, to get my flow together, to learn how to write, the frustration. You're going to see all of that, and I want to be very open with this process.
He's already released his first single, Out the Trenches, featuring Showtime Shaddy. And he's also giving us the first look at scenes from his debut music video featuring another Bahamian artist, Travi Bow.
It's my first music video, so that was a challenge of itself. trying to perform in front of a camera, having that confidence, and just getting into character wasn't something I was used to, even being behind cameras. And I was the one that wrote the treatment, I directed, and I partnered up with Helium Creative to bring my idea to life, and also be editing the video myself along with Gary Wong. So being a part of the process and knowing that this day would come still felt unreal. The day I sat in front of the camera, I started having butterflies immediately.
A humble guy, Judah says he's jumped into the music business with an open mind. For him, it's about getting people to see that it's okay to try something new and step outside your comfort zone.
Coming into this world, I had nothing to lose. So, I'm happy to be in a position I am in life, but I also want to keep going. The only way you'll be able to see your true potential is if you challenge yourself. And I don't want to wait for someone to give me an idea or wait for someone else to grant me that opportunity. I want to make that possible for myself. And then, I like seeing things happen for myself and being a part of it. Why not? And I feel like I have nothing to lose. If I have the time, make the best out of it, and then let me be tired of doing something that I really love or I'm really passionate about.
Ju's music can be found on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music, and Tidal. And he says keep an eye out as he's just getting started.
I always told myself, even with this project, COVID taught me that nothing is off the table. So it's a why not and why should. So if it makes sense, then we just bring everything to the table and we see what we need to move or what we need to adjust to make this happen. And if it does continue to inspire people as I plan to, then why not? There might be another project, in a couple of months or a year from now. I'm not sure, but it's not my main priority. Just something I want to do now and do it properly while I have the time.
With this edition of A League of Their Own for Our News, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
And a local organization is working to uplift and encourage the nation's youth to help them find their purpose and release inner greatness. In this edition of Making a Difference, our Brittany McDermott tells us all about NU.
I love my orange, love my blue. I love my NU, I love my orange, love my blue.
Formed in 2009 with a vision to inspire, uplift, and help nurture young people, NU has helped youngsters to appreciate, embrace, and release their inner greatness. The organization, which consists of roughly 130 millennials and Gen Zs, prides itself on building up its members through mentorship, training, seminars, and retreats.
Spiritual impact on a lot of persons. It brought a lot of persons closer to God. Just the stuff that we do, and we are people of prayer. So with that, we do a lot of spiritual stuff. So I feel like that's kind of the impact that it has on a lot of youths. It brings them closer to God.
The organization usually hosts a number of annual events like the NU Experience, the Art of NU, and Christmas Carols Coffee. However, these events have been altered due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
We had to adjust to it, so most of our events went virtual. So we had to discontinue the NU Experience last year, but we still did the Art of NU. And with that, we recorded it live and then we streamed it, but then we also had different online events, such as we did power-up events where we would go on Zoom, invite some persons, and then they would come on. We would power them up, whether it's spiritually.
Now, if you're looking to be a part of the NU Experience, the organization plans to partner with Purpose Awareness Month next month to put on a number of activities.
The theme for this year is live. We are encouraging every person that is a part or would like to be a part of Purpose Awareness Month to live. Live unapologetically, live in their purpose, live in destiny, live in what it is that they feel God has called them to do. And we have exciting things on board where persons will be able to even vote for persons that they feel are living out their best life, their best self.
Next month, you can look forward to virtual activities like Purpose Discovery and Kids in Purpose, which Wallace says have been a hit. So how can you be a part or donate to the organization?
You can reach out to us via email at info@nuglobal.com. That's info@ENUEGLOBAL.com. Listen, we are open, ready, and willing to receive of every donor, every donation, every single thing, but you can also reach out to us at purposeawareness@gmail.com. Also, you can call 636-4003.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Brittany McDermott.
How going electric could save you big on your vehicle. That's coming up when Our News returns.
Yes.
Jump in the trunk.
Right there. Right there. That is so funny. Hey, you know what I'm saying? Now eyes up, just your eyes. Okay. Yes, got it. Like these hands in the pocket. 3, 2, 1. Eyes to the camera, guys.
Kimmy's Kingdom Season 2 coming soon to TV.
Progressive Liberal Party Deputy Leader Chester Cooper throwing his support behind the use of electric cars, noting that Bahamians will save money and lower the country's CO2 emissions by going electric.
Everyone knows how expensive it is to fill up a gas tank. On average, we pay $4 to $5 a gallon to drive 25 or 30 miles. But if you charge up your electric vehicle from the grid, instead of fueling up conventionally, the same distance will cost you $1.
Easy Car sales partner Pia Farmer says they're looking to empower Bahamians to save up to 75% of the money they spend on gasoline and vehicle maintenance. She says it's a win-win situation.
Because while the individual gains by driving electric, our environment thrives without fumes and emissions from vehicles. You know, we know that emissions from fossil fuels are causing 20% of the harmful gases on in our atmosphere that is making our world warmer and is affecting our climate. 20%.
Well, thank you so much for joining us for our news tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Georgie O'Bain, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow night. Have a beautiful evening, Bahamas.